What's going on, my brothers and sisters? This is your brother Greg from Common Law Rights Society. I just wanted to show you guys a couple of different documents that I found online. I thought that you'd feel it was interesting. Let's go ahead and share my screen real quick. All right, so this is out of Virginia, so I'm sure that your state has something similar. All right, so we're going to get into a few different titles in the code. So this is under civil remedies and procedure, personal jurisdiction in certain areas. All right, so imagine the idea of when a person, right, a man who has a role in society, again, person being a legal personality. So whether it be your trust as you the trustee, that personal entity, or when you are talking about you and your social security number or whatever personal jurisdiction we're talking about. But in general, the state of Virginia, as any state, has its own jurisdictional minimum contacts. And so when does personal jurisdiction, when personal jurisdiction over a person may be exercised is as follows. All right, so we got letter A. A court may exercise personal jurisdiction over a person who acts directly or by an agent. So that's basically saying if you do it directly or if you send someone on behalf of yourself. As to a cause of action arising from the persons, 1, transacting any business in this Commonwealth. 2, contracting to supply services or things in this Commonwealth. 3, causing torturous action by an act or omission in this Commonwealth. All right, so we're going to stop there for a second, and we're going to go over those real quick. Transacting any business. Remember, we talked about Virginia, every state at this point is using Federal Reserve notes. They're using EINs. They're using social security numbers to identify people, to pay people, to account for people. They are all within that matrix of that Social Security Federal Reserve system. Again, this is not legal advice, you guys. This is just your brother and his thoughts. But it's a private system. So remember, we talked about it yesterday. When you think about the system itself being in one box, and that box is a contractual nature. So here's you at the bottom right here. You're a free man, and you have the right to be yourself as long as you don't trespass upon any other person's rights, any other people's rights. You also have the right to contract. It's your common law. It's your natural God-given right. When you create a contract, it creates a box. That box has its own jurisdictional qualities because the terms of the contract define what the box looks like. So their box, the system's box, is one that was created out of the Social Security layer, out of this corporate business, private money layer, right? This benefit system layer. That box is its own jurisdictional qualities outside of the common law, okay? It's a statutory realm. So when you are transacting any business in that box, when you're using your social security number or you're touching minimum contacts with their entities, whether it be banks or whether it be doing some kind of business, anything with their entities, if you come in contact with one of their social security holders or one of their EIN holders, and they do business with you, that business can cause personal jurisdiction to be obtained. It doesn't necessarily mean it will be obtained. It means that a cause of action arising out of the persons transacting any business could cause personal jurisdiction to be obtained. If there's a liability that's created, whether you transact business and something happens and they take you to court, they could get personal jurisdiction, most likely because you transacted some business with one of their persons, whether it be a resident, whether it be a business resident, whatever it might be, whether it be the state themselves. But we're going to go into the next page and show you the things that do not cause any transacting of any business. All right, number 2, we said contracting to supply services or things. Again, services will be in the same manner as the transacting businesses. It doesn't have to be, but most likely that a lot of services, if you have Joe's Plumbing and people are contracting with you to do Joe's Plumbing, there's a possibility that if you don't do a good job, you could get brought up into a courtroom. All right. So again, services or things. Now, causing torturous injury, that means that you're trespassing upon someone's rights. We don't have to get into that whole lot. You had caused injury. So we always say, you know, I mean, we're always watching people say, was there an injury that was caused? Did I cause an injury? And typically the answer is no, because it's a statutory offense, non-injurious crime. And this is saying if you do cause a crime, injurious crime, torturous injury, then you can be brought up and jurisdiction can very possibly be obtained. All right, so let's continue on. I'm not going to try to take too long on this video. Number 4, causing torturous injury in the Commonwealth by an act or omission outside of the Commonwealth. So if you regularly, it says if you regularly do or solicit business or engage in any other persistent course of conduct or derive substantial revenue from goods used or consumed or services rendered in the Commonwealth. So they're basically saying if you're selling something outside of the Commonwealth, maybe you're selling vehicles and you forget to put the brake line in and someone within the Commonwealth gets in an accident, I guess they're saying they will try to obtain personal jurisdiction. And I'm sure there's a whole heap of other examples. Number 5, causing injury in this Commonwealth to any person by breach of warranty, expressly or implied. We don't have to get into the whole entire thing of that. We're saying it basically, it says also provided that he also regularly does or solicits business in the Commonwealth. So basically, causing injury in the Commonwealth to any person by a breach of warranty, anything that you cause an injury by, you're going to be possibly brought in under personal jurisdiction, is what they're saying. I want you to pay attention to this one. Number 6, having an interest in using or possessing real property in this Commonwealth. So it doesn't say anything about ownership. It says having an interest in using or possessing real property. And then this phrase right here, in this Commonwealth, is actually a very interesting phrase. I should have probably brought up that that code if I can. I'll see if I can bring it up towards the end because I can't remember exactly which number it is, but the definition of in this Commonwealth is not what you would think. It basically has to do with taxation, borders, limits within the territory of the Commonwealth is limited to this definition right here, in this Commonwealth. And every state has it. In this state of New Jersey, in this state, in this state, in this Commonwealth. And it's a definition, it's a legalese definition. All right, contracting to insure any person, property, or risk located within the Commonwealth at time of contracting. So again, you're making a contract to insure. Having executed an agreement in the Commonwealth which obligates the person to pay child support or spousal support. Having maintained within this Commonwealth a matrimonial domicile at the time of separation. Number 10, having incurred a liability for taxes, fines, penalties, interest, or other charges to any political subdivision of the Commonwealth. Again, doing business with the Commonwealth in some way. Using a computer network located in the Commonwealth shall constitute an act in the Commonwealth. They're saying if you do something, a computer crime, I guess. When jurisdiction over a person is based upon this section, only a cause of action arising from acts enumerated in this section may be asserted against him. However, nothing contained in this chapter shall limit, restrict, or otherwise affect the jurisdiction of any court of this Commonwealth over foreign corporations that are subject to service of proper process pursuant to the provisions of any of the statute. Again, you wouldn't be a foreign corporation, you would be a foreign trust, and you would go outside of the corporate laws. But you are an entity in and of itself, and they consider it an entity that can have jurisdiction brought against it. Let me show you this one right here, you guys. All right. These are transactions not constituted doing business. So these are all the things that you could technically do, and I even brought up the foreign business trust section. So here's the things you can do without it bringing liability or personal jurisdiction against you through the transaction aspect. You can maintain, defend, or settle any proceeding. You could, number two, hold meetings of its beneficial owners or on carrying out any other activities concerning its internal affairs. That's a big one for me. So if that's not constituted doing business, it's not a transaction that constitutes doing business, then you could hold meetings of beneficial owners. So if you're a trustee, you could go into the state of, or the church, or the Commonwealth of whatever, and have a meeting with the beneficial owners. You might have beneficiaries throughout the entire union, throughout the entire world. And these beneficiaries, you're obligated to go meet with them and carry on whatever activities you want to carry on with them. You might have some kind of internal affair that you want to take place. You might have some kind of party. But anyway, you can hold meetings with the beneficiaries, and that's not constituted as transacting. That's not transactions that constitute doing business. You can maintain bank accounts. That's not doing business. You can maintain an office. So you could have a house somewhere set up that is also the trust office that you sign a contract with the trust to allow you to live in. Let's read the whole thing. Maintain offices or agencies for the transfer, exchange, and registration of the foreign business trust securities, or maintaining trustees or depositaries with respect to those securities. Selling through independent contractors. So if you have independent contractors, that's not constituted as doing business. So if you got, I guess, somebody within their system potentially to do independent contracting on behalf of your trust. Soliciting or obtaining orders, whether by mail or through employees or agents or otherwise, if the orders require acceptance outside this Commonwealth before they become contracts. So if you solicit orders, and then once you leave the Commonwealth, they become contracts, I guess they're saying that's not a transaction of business. Creating or acquiring indebtedness, deeds of trust, and security interests in real or personal property is not considered transacting business. Securing or collecting debts or enforcing deeds of trust and security interests in property, securing the debts. So you can collect debts, you could secure debts, you could create or acquire indebtedness, deeds of trust, and security interests in real or personal property. None of those are transacting business. Look, here's the one I was showing you earlier when you couldn't use or all those things property. You could own without more real or personal property. Now, if you are the owner outright as a trustee, but 9/10 of the owner or the possession is the beneficiaries, then I believe that's where you can get the ability to live in a trustee house as long as you are contracted to do so with the trust without it being more than the trustee ownership. Conducting an isolated transaction that is completed within 30 days and that is not one in the course of repeated transactions of a like nature, that's fine. For a period of less than 90 consecutive days, producing, directing, filming, crewing, or acting in motion pictures to be sent outside of the Commonwealth for processing, editing, marketing, and distribution is fine. Serving without more as a general partner of, or as a partner in a partnership that is a general partner of a domestic or foreign limited partnership that does not otherwise transact business in the Commonwealth. So it's basically saying that if that partnership doesn't transact business in the Commonwealth and you are a partner, and you're just simply serving as a general partner, then you would not be transacting business. The term transacting business as used in this section shall have no effect on personal jurisdiction. I guess that's what we were talking about just a little bit ago. So it's saying shall have no effect. I think that's not what they want you to believe. Let's make sure that we're talking about the same thing. I think it's the same one we were just watching, or the same thing we were just looking at. So yeah, so that's the same thing. So they're saying transacting any business. Well, they could say it has nothing to do with it, but I mean, if they're telling you what is not constituted as transacting business, then you're not doing those things. So anyway, that being said, take it with a grain of salt. Just want to show you guys what I found. It says this list of activities in subsection A is not exhaustive. This section does not apply in determining the context or activities may subject a foreign business trust to service or process. So again, minimum context. Just because you're maybe not transacting business in the way they're talking about, well, saying the section does not apply in determining the context. Well, again, they could say that, but you and I know that they're going to be looking at those things to determine your minimum context. Anyway, last thing I want to show you guys, this is a separate section, titling and registration of motor vehicles, regular operation other than for pleasure. It says, except as provided, a non-resident owner of a foreign motor vehicle, trailer or semi-trailer, which is regularly operated in the Commonwealth. So it's basically saying if you're a non-resident of any state and you own a foreign motor vehicle, meaning a vehicle that's not registered in that state that they're talking about, then if you are regularly operating, which means doing business, if you are regularly operating or from a point outside to the point to a point within the Commonwealth or a point to a point, it's just basically saying if you go through it, if you're going into it, if you're crossing anywhere near it, it says for purposes other than pleasure, shall otherwise provided register such vehicle and pay the same fees. So basically, once again, it's saying that you have two different forms of travel. You have pleasure, and then you have regular operation, which they're considering any kind of business, right? Because it has to be. There's either regular operation or there's pleasure. There's only business and pleasure, right? It's the only two things that exist. You're the commercial, you're in your commercial operation, or you're traveling by pleasure. Now, many people wondering about this. I'm not under some kind of commercial venture, right? People are always saying that when the cops are pulling them over. Well, again, a non-resident owner of a foreign motor vehicle must register if they're doing any kind of business, but if they're doing purposes of pleasure only, then they're not necessarily required. It shall otherwise be provided. So it says, for purposes other than pleasure, they shall otherwise register such vehicle and pay the same fees as if they were residents of the Commonwealth. So again, you can see the title and the title number 46.2-658. Again, it's just pointing out, I just want to state it again, it's either business or pleasure. So if you are a non-resident owner of a foreign motor vehicle without plates, and I would probably even say without a license, because if you're a licensee, then you might be required to participate in their Motor Compact Act. But if you're a non-resident owner of a foreign motor vehicle traveling for pleasure, you're not required to have tags in that vehicle, is what I'm reading here. Correct me if I'm wrong in the comments below. Anyway, you guys, just woke up a little bit ago, so sorry I look all crazy. I'm going to get on to my studies and drink some coffee. You guys have a beautiful day. Stay safe. 1 month.